from LPI Studios in Memphis, Tennessee. It's R&R on Sports with Uncle Howard Robertson.
You will only see Tony Romo this season if something happens to Dak Prescott.
Jennifer Conroy.
There are less pieces on the Raiders. There's been the move, and the whole culture has kind of had to shift into LA out of St. Louis.
And the magnificent Larry Robinson.
I think this whole concept of college football playoffs is an absolute travesty.
It's R&R on Sports.
Hello and welcome to a little R&R on Sports. I'm Howard Robertson.
And I am Jennifer Conroy.
And I am the fantastic, the amazing, the absolutely adorable Larry Robinson. What's up, America? Hey, man, it's
now he's adorable.
He's adorable.
I'm adorable, man.
Wow.
You know, that's what my wife told me.
Oh, she just wants you to feel special.
It was
calls
Valentine's
themselves
Day.
adorable.
It
It's
was
like somebody. You ever heard anybody talk about themselves, Jennifer, in the third person?
I have. And Mon Shumpert actually is a big fan, and he calls himself Shump.
It's a
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it was Valentine's Day, so
Yes.
I got
And
a
she
little
called.
bit.
Is that when Natalie
She's-
allegedly called you adorable?
That's what I thought she said.
Oh, I don't know about that.
She said it like under her breath.
Right.
It was like, you adorable.
All-Star Weekend.
It is. Cheers.
So y'all going to the
All-Star,
All-Star game?
Yeah, we're going with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, y'all more than welcome to come.
We're going to watch a full court game of horse.
A full court game of horse. That's
Is that part of the weekend
basically
now?
what it is.
That's basically what it
Basically
is.
what it is.
I mean, what do you guys think about the status of All-Star Weekend now? I mean, is it as popular as it used to be? Does it still attract the number of fans that it used to?
I think
It's the
big
Hoochie
weekend
Fest.
party.
It's the Hoochie Fest.
Hoochie Fest.
It's the Hoochie
I've heard
Fest.
that.
I'm
I've
serious.
heard that.
You know, it's like every
Explain that.
scripper, every scripper, every hoochie around the country. It's the national holiday.
All-Star Weekend.
Absolutely.
It's the national holiday.
But I also think there's a dramatic element this year that could not have been written better for
the stock
TV.
fest.
And it's Katie and Westbrook having to be on the same team.
Oh my goodness!
And
yeah.
we're going to see what happens.
Well, we saw
You throw some
when they
Draymond
played.
in the mix.
We saw when they played. They really don't like each other no more.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but they're on the same team, so.
I don't think it
What can
matters.
I don't think it's going. I don't think it matters
What do
to
you expect
Westbrook.
to happen?
I don't think it matters. I think it's going to be a really icy type of deal. I wouldn't be
He's not
surprised.
going to pass
if-
him
He's
the
not
ball.
gonna pass him the
Well, I don't think
No.
it'll get that petty. I don't think
I
it'll get that
do.
petty because it's
I
four.
think
It's
Russ
actually
is that
it's
petty.
actually 4 Golden State Warriors on the All-Star team.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
He'll get the ball.
No, I'm saying Russell Westbrook. He started not passing the
They're
ball.
going to put him in timeout.
They're gonna
quick.
put him with. They're gonna put him with the 4 Golden State Warriors.
You have to sit with Draymond. Well, KD came out and he was like, they kept calling him a cupcake, and he said, well, I like red velvet, so I'm waiting to see who's going to bring Kevin Durant some red velvet cupcakes that have
And what y'all
X-Lax
think
in
about
them.
But I mean, it's a big popularity contest, and I'm
Yes.
just wondering if anybody cares anymore. In terms of real fans, now the hoochies I can understand, but I mean, are we talking real fan interest?
Well, I think
I
people
think you'd
still want to
like-
see the dunk contest
Yeah, I think
and the
people
skills
like to see the
contest and
skill,
stuff like
you know,
that.
What is that?
The
Saturday
skill stuff,
night.
yeah.
Saturday night event, and I think the rising
But
stars.
is it
that
kind of
happen on-
anticlimactic when you get it to get to the
I think
game
so.
time?
I
Yeah,
think so.
because you don't. It's
not
lost
playing
on those
defense.
rivalries now. It used to be you had, the East and the West were rivals, and they went at it, and you could see the level of competition. And now it's like a friendly game of.
And I think it's an opportunity.
Look what I can do.
It's the NBA's version of a Super Bowl.
True.
And I think it also is an opportunity for all the executives to get together, sort of like baseball's winter meetings. And I think this is when we'll find out if Carmelo is getting traded.
Where will he go?
Cleveland.
We're going to come back after this and talk about what matters most.
Don't forget to subscribe and rate to the podcast.
And share.
Hello, everybody. This is Tim Brown, 2015 NFL Hall of Fame inductee, and you are listening to R&R on Sports.
And we are back with our unique and special little segment called What Matters Most.
What matters most?
There we go.
The reprieve of the reprieve of the singing intro.
Yeah. I think he must be inspired by the Prince tributes that were going on this weekend.
I'm going to tell you, I had not missed that.
I'm just curious, what did you think of Grammys and Beyonce?
I like Beyonce a lot for a couple of things that were impossible to do that night. You know, and all of them was shaking.
Come on, ladies,
shaking
now let's
something.
get information.
Right.
I thought she was positioning herself as the goddess, and so I'm going, that's a little overkill for me. And pregnant and that.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely, if you.
No, man.
It's things that weren't clear.
Beyonce is the bomb. She's a trendsetter.
She is the bomb.
She's awesome. She kind of flipped everything around and really just changed the whole conversation. And then Adele just took it to a whole nother level with just a massive prop.
Game recognizes game.
And then broke
no matter
broke
what.
the daggone Grammy in half and
Yep.
had a piece for Beyonce. I'm telling you, that was dramatic. That was awesome.
I liked Bruno Mars's tribute to Prince. I thought, he did very well.
Now, Bruno is an entertainer.
Woo-woo.
Bruno is old school.
Yes.
Get up there and play and perform. Been doing this since he was a kid.
Now, y'all saying the Grammys matter most, or are we?
No, Grammys don't matter most.
What really matters?
You the one that brought up Beyonce.
Well, I just had to,
Well, I mean, I think the players protest.
Okay. You talking about the Patriot players?
I'm talking about Patriot and others.
Okay, who else? Because I think they're up to like 7 players now that set out, including Howie Long's, according to JC, Howie Long's son.
That is his daddy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
And you ask about why they are announcing it now, and I'm saying that makes it a protest. That makes it a protest, and it is
them not being there. Just them not being there. Because I would have said
them announcing that they're not going to be there.
Yeah.
So I'm saying I was going to say that them not going to the White House is not a statement enough.
No, because that's later.
That's later.
And they feel the need to protest now, given what the president
and
is
it's
doing.
clearing up. It's not a scheduling issue where I just have something else to do that day and I can't make it. It's I am intentionally not going. This is why I'm not going. I don't feel welcome, and it is a form of protest for sure.
We got a great show today. We've got some great talk, and we'll get back into it right after this.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is David West of the Golden State Warriors, and you're listening to R&R on Sports.
This here's a jam for all the fellas. Try to do what those ladies tell us. Get shot down because you're overzealous. Play hard to get females, get jealous. Okay, smarty, go to a party.
And we are back. So let's continue to talk about the protests. Let's continue to talk about the protests. Now, clearly, protests are at the apex and top of everything that is happening now. There's a lot to protest.
There is a lot to protest.
In the first month of a new presidency, there has been more. This has been quite phenomenal. But we won't get into all political. But let's talk about the reaction to it. Now, here's where we stand. We have New England Patriots players, Super Bowl champions, that are opting out of going whenever that's going to take place to meet the president.
Would you go?
No, I said that before. You asked me that before.
Would you go, JC?
No.
Okay.
No.
So,
I'd wear a chastity belt if I did.
Now listen. So
I don't want somebody to grab me.
What was it? 4 years ago or 8 years ago when Tom Brady conveniently could not make the visit to
President Obama.
See President Obama.
He would like you to believe that was just a scheduling issue.
That was just apolitical.
Yeah.
So now he's come out against the players saying that they need to get over it and come greet the president.
It's really something that we're going to talk about later, and I'll let you kind of bring that up. But but it goes back to him believing that he's smarter than everybody else.
Have you seen the handshakes he gives out?
Tom Brady believing that?
Yeah, I believe that Tom Brady believes that he is the smartest guy in the room.
Absolutely.
And therefore, he's going to just pull the wool over our eyes and just say, "Oh, that was apolitical. That was just a scheduling issue." Bull, bro.
And what does
don't talk to me.
What does that reek of? It's Howard has a new word to introduce
we
to the listeners today.
Privilegism.
Privilegism.
Privilegism. You're gonna have to spell that, bro.
And we'll come back. We'll come back and explain what that is. But so you've got that going on with those players. You've got the pushback on for Under Armour athletes.
I have to give Steph Curry and Misty Copeland credit because I think it was their actions directly, which Tom Brady is an Under Armour sponsor, endorser. I'm sorry, but I will say that Steph Curry's comments regarding our president, and then Misty Copeland's big long Instagram post. If you haven't seen it, go check it out.
It's amazing
because she really lays it down, and I was really impressed with what she had to say, being one of their endorsers.
So what's the Under Armour guy's name again?
Kevin Plank.
Plank.
Yeah, Plank. He
put
totally
a full-page ad in the Baltimore paper, positioning against disagreeing with the
current
immigration law. Yeah, the thing that got. The thing that got canned on appeal, overturned.
But he's going to take the court to court,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
it's big league.
Yeah. He's big league.
Big league.
But anyway, so it really was impressive, like I said, that they decided to step up and really take a stand against a company that they're endorsing and their leader in the company's leadership. And I appreciate that. I've noticed that other company leaderships have decided not to say anything in regards to this, and I think that's directly because of Steph Curry's comment.
I agree, but I love it because you have athletes that are putting principle in front of money, and the mantra has generally been that you don't bite the hand that feeds you, and it has been dangerous to do so. And there's a history of athletes who I'm sure disagreed with the endorsements that they had, and Misty Copeland and Steph are willing to say this is wrong, and that's a risk, and I applaud their willingness to step out and to use their platforms for good.
So what do you say to those who say players should shut up and play ball? They are filthy rich. They are millionaires themselves. They have nothing to complain about. If they want to complain about something, try living my life. What do you say to them in terms of their reaction, players' reaction to these owners and these corporate giants who pay them supremely?
What I would say to them is to take a seat, because what we're talking about in athletes is these are people, and people come with certain inalienable rights that are extended to everyone, and everyone has the right to voice their opinion. You don't like what Steph Curry has to say, you don't have to watch him play. You don't have to listen to what he says. You're not, there's no personal investment that you're making in an athlete that should dictate what they can or cannot do. If you don't like it, that's fine. You can disagree with them all you want, but they certainly have the right to use their platforms however they wish.
Well, I would say if I was one of those athletes, is that my bank account size does not minimize nor mitigate my humanity.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really what, words. And I really think that that's what it's about. It's about being a human being and really looking at others and being empathetic. And what it basically says to me is that a large portion of our society has very low emotional intelligence because they don't have the ability to put themselves in other person's shoes. And these people have come, just like your forefathers came to this country, to seeking opportunities, seeking a new life, and seeking a way to better themselves. Oh. And I thought that's what America was all about.
And Misty Copeland, I mean, you have a ballerina who is in the most systemically racist aspect of sports ever. And she is an incredible athlete, and that's what she is. She is an athlete. So I applaud her, and I think that I love this current trend of seeing athletes be humanitarians.
Perfect segue into what would you do if? So, Larry, what would you do if you were Dolan with the Knicks?
What would I do?
At this point?
Seeing the backlash that the team and the league and everyone and I have received from the fans of the New York Knicks. Number one, I'd invite Charles Oakley to come and sit next to me at a game, and then I would have a conversation at halftime between the two of us that everybody gets to sit down and be a part of. And then number two, I would retire Charles Oakley's jersey.
Are you going to publicly apologize first?
Oh, absolutely publicly apologize. I did.
I think that would be necessary.
Right.
Before
to
you
get
can
him
invite him anywhere.
Right, but no, that would be a part of the public apology. Was that us sitting together, and I'd apologize man to man, because I think the things that he said about Charles Oakley was not even if they are true, were very disrespectful, and is not how you treat a family member. And he's a valuable, respected member of the Knicks family and the NBA and the NBA fraternity. And I think that's how I would handle it.
You're giving Dolan some credit for things that I don't think that he's capable of.
Well, you asked me what would
you do if you were
I were Dolan.
I think he's going to Taylor Swift it and write a song about it.
You don't think he's capable of an apology?
I think he's capable of an apology. I think he's capable of a sincere apology? And absolutely not. To make a public apology, I don't think he's got that in him.
Okay.
And I don't think he wants to. I think that he believes that he's due something from Charles Oakley, and I don't know what that is, but he feels like Oakley should be indebted to him in the first place.
I got so much more I want to talk to y'all about, and I got to do it on the other side of this, so don't y'all go anywhere. This is one of the best shows you've ever heard.
Just bust the move.
Rolling down the street with my radio on, listen to Funky Politics.
The mayor of the city of Memphis, Mayor Jim Strickland. How are you, sir?
Fantastic. We keep it real, we keep it right, and we keep it funky.
4 o'clock, WDIA.
Funky Politics, part of the Katsukian Network.
Hey, this is Dr. J.
Hi, this is Rika Ketchum. This is John Hollinger, Vice President of Basketball Operations for the Memphis Grizzlies. Tim Brown, NFL Hall of Fame inductee. You are listening to R&R on Sports.
And we are back with R&R on Sports.
You are here with us.
Glad to have you, too. What would you do this All-Star weekend if you were LeBron, in addition to play?
I would relax, kick my feet up, and
how you gonna do that?
Well, I mean, outside of his obligations, I still think he needs the time to relax because he's playing a lot of minutes. And LeBron,
you going to rest LeBron over All-Star weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they got the time now because they played the other day, and they'll go all the way through to the weekend, and they won't start playing back until like Wednesday or so of next week.
So do you think he will be the one to lead the discussion with Carmelo relative to...
I think that's already done.
I think they're going to DeAndre Jordan him.
I mean,
I don't think Melo's going back.
What will his role in it be? Will he pull
I think
Carmelo to the side and say, look, man, hey, we really want... I mean, what will he do? Will he try to close the deal?
Well, I think that's it. I'm sure he's
they gotta have a special handshake. Yeah, it'll be a special handshake and a dance. Westbrook's going to choreograph it because Campaign is going to be in Oklahoma.
Right.
Oh, but check this out. Did y'all see the Mountain Dew commercial with Campaign and Russell Westbrook?
Ain't that
good
fun?
look. Good look. Go, boy. Go, Cam.
We have had Campaign on our show.
Yes,
okay, so
and Russ is now a mentor.
Going back to LeBron. LeBron, I think, has already let it be known what he wants to do with David Griffin and likes it at the Cavaliers.
LeBron gets what LeBron wants.
And I think that's pretty much he'd probably sit back and just do his thing, have his meetings and things like that. But I think that's what would happen.
LeBron took Kevin Love and said, look, I don't want to trade you, so I'm going to have to hurt you a little bit.
Let me kick you in the knee.
Like Tanya Harding.
He's out for how long?
You think you Tanya Harding him?
He Tanya Harding him. We're gonna get Melo down here. But
he was in a dark room.
Yeah,
He's
you
in a dark room and hit him with
yeah, it's going to be all right.
Do you think that Carmelo is all that they need? I mean, they get Carmelo.
They still need a point guard, though. You still need a point guard.
I would say.
Well, I think
they just waiting on Chalmers.
I think they waiting on Rondo. I think they waiting on
waiting on Mario.
Yeah, I would be surprised if
Memphis
Cleveland doesn't.
We do need Mario.
If Chicago doesn't do something with Rajon Rondo.
I think they're just going to drop him off somewhere and leave him.
Rondo is playing some really good ball, and I think he is showing that he's grown up. And he's ready to be one of the vets.
I liked his statement where Rondo said, back in the day, this is not how this worked. And so
my vets would never throw
anybody under the bus. We handled it like men. We came at each other. And so it was
all behind closed doors.
It was all behind closed doors. But I really could see Chicago just driving and dropping him off.
Who's the next one?
Well, let's talk about Magic. Let's talk about Magic.
Magic has demands.
Yeah. Magic's making the rounds. Magic's got a lot to say. I mean,
I would do
what would you do next if you were Magic Johnson?
I'd say goodbye to Jim Buss.
Well, I would. Well, first of all, you can't say goodbye to an owner.
No, you can't.
How you going to do that?
So I would say for Magic
relieve
Johnson,
him of his duties.
I think he's definitely said the right things up to this point. Yeah. That there's no reason for me to be here if I'm not going to have decision-making ability.
And give me Kobe one day a week.
And if Kobe can be a part of that, that would be great because I think they are the Laker brand.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I think and they have a lot of credibility, especially with the younger players, with Kobe, and then the fact that, with Magic and Magic being the consummate businessman. I mean, Magic's probably worth close to $1 billion in his business deals. I think he can run the Lakers.
They should go ahead and bring Kareem down too.
Basketball operations. I would take a stance very similar to Magic and saying that, look, Jeannie, if I'm not going to be here as the person making the final decision,
there's no
reason for me to be here.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that.
If you sat me down in a room with Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, and Kareem, I'd sign anywhere you wanted me to. And I think they've got a roster of good talent that given the right, picks and pops and insertions, could make the Lakers great again. Do you like how I did that?
They are clearly the poster children for the Lakers. They are the brands. Yeah. I mean, they helped establish.
Absolutely.
Short of Kareem and the logo.
Yeah.
I mean, they are indeed the brand for the Lakers.
So, I mean, I think it's necessary to have them in the front office. I really do. Whatever role Kobe plays. I mean, even if Kobe comes back as some sort of GM, I would
That'd
think
be cool.
I would think that Kobe and Magic as running that organization would be a phenomenal look for the Lakers.
And I still like Luke Walton as the coach. A lot.
So, before we talked about this new coined word called privilegism.
Nice. Just flows.
Privilegism. Now, the definition of that privilegism is the intersection of privilege, be that wealth, the privilege of wealth, the privilege of being white, the privilege of being male, the privilege of being white and male, or even black and male if you are, an athlete or an entertainer and whatnot. A certain amount of privilege that comes with that, and sism, that can be racism, that can be classism. That can be other sexism. Sexism, absolutely.
Uncle Howard is taking us to school, y'all.
Privilegism.
And it's a boomer saying this.
Yeah. I think we have seen more and more and more of this.
I agree.
Beginning with And the poster child now for it all is named Don John Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so. Very much so. And I think his actions are definitely stated. I mean, the fact that he's not staying in the White House as much, and the family's not staying in the White House. And
family's not staying in the White House at all.
Requiring the people of America to pay for securing the Trump Tower.
Millions of dollars a day.
And I just think, you're right. It's exactly the poster child for that.
He's having open air security briefings in Mar-a-Lago. He outed the guy that carries the nuclear codes. He has tried to ban Muslims, and it's getting scary.
And altering. Well, I ain't gonna.
Okay, let's take it to a sports level.
Correct.
Come on, let's take it to the sports side.
Okay, from a sports side, that's what you're seeing. Is that not what you're seeing with Dolan and Oakley? Is that not what you're seeing with Plank? Is that not what you're seeing? Yeah, I mean, you are seeing
I think Plank's thing, I think, in my opinion, was him saying that he liked Donald Trump. I don't know.
He likes it. It's run like a business.
No, he likes Donald Trump because of.
Wouldn't they like each other?
Of course.
Because of the fact that we have someone that's a business person, and his quote-unquote business person is what he said. So, I mean, I don't know if we can actually group Kevin Plank into that same space, but what I can say is that, James Dolan embodies all of that. And then the fact that I'm just going to disparage you because you don't agree with what I've done and who I am, and you're going to, talk negatively about me is what,
and you're in my place and space.
You're in my spot
that I control every aspect of.
Right.
And I ain't gonna have it.
And while you're being detained, I'm gonna say things like, "I think he has a drinking problem. I think he needs some help."
Yeah.
And then to try and convert it by saying, "Well, we had a sit down with Mr. Oakley and Michael Jordan," as if Michael Jordan. And here's another thing about sports, and Michael Jordan in particular. I have heard the phrase over and over again with athletes of color who have become superstars, and that's transcends color lines. And I think although Oakley and Jordan are best friends, that's why they brought Jordan in on this conversation to smooth things over. And
but it didn't work.
It didn't work.
It didn't work. Oakley's like, no, until I get a public apology, which is one of the things that I really appreciate. But before we get, I don't want to stand too much in that space. What I'd like to ask you about, Uncle Howard, is what do you think about what Draymond Green said about, Dolan exhibiting slave mentality?
I'm like Chris Rock. I understood very, very clearly where he was going. He might have expressed it a bit clumsily.
Yeah.
But I understand and agree with the sentiment.
Yeah,
I do not have any problem with that. He had every right to say. I mean, we see this as African American men. We see this quite a lot. And I think
what is the connection between slave owner mentality and this situation with Oakley? From your perspective, being a baby boomer,
it's an attitude. It's a paternalistic kind of attitude that I know what's best for you, and I know what needs to be done, and I'm going to do it. And it's part of that privilegism situation because he has the privilege of wealth. He has the privilege of control. He has the privilege of power. And he exercised all of that. Now, was that, and what Draymond was saying, was that powered by some racism? Let's not be naive.
Now we are seeing this with Phil Jackson. I think the way the treatment of Carmelo Anthony has been indicative of that.
Preach, yes. So I mean we can talk a long time about this, but it's very, very interesting. I think we're going to see more and more examples, more and more situations and scenarios where this comes to play.
I think we have seen some of those because we saw them with Sterling, and now it's gone further with Dolan. And I think that Dolan feels definitely in a position of power over Oakley, and he's flexing it, and he feels like I made you, I gave you this opportunity, and now you owe me.
Right.
As a part of our Black History Month initiative here at R&R, you're going to hear more from Reginald Howard, but thank you for hanging with us to this point. But we have Reginald Howard after the jump.
Stay with us.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and you're listening to a little R&R on sports.
I got a condo in Manhattan. Baby girl, what's happening? You and your inside it. So gonna get to clapping. Go pop it for a player. Pop it for me. Turn around and drop it for a player. Drop it for me. I'll rent a beach house in Miami. Wake up with no jammies. Lobster tail for dinner. Julio served that scampi. You got it if you want it. Got it.
High conversation, and we are talking about Negro League baseball, and we have.
Did you play in the Negro League?
No.
You old enough though, right?
I did not. I'm not. I had to catch myself. I almost asked you if your
Are
daddy.
you sure?
I almost asked you if your daddy played. I had to catch myself. I'm sorry. Don't distract me. We're happy to have Mr. Reggie Howard with us. Negro League baseball historian. Let me take that Negro League off. I mean, he knows about a baseball of every hue. Welcome back to R&R on Sports.
Thank you.
Now, let's talk about let's talk about the teams overall in the Negro League. See, because people don't really understand what teams made up the Negro League. So let's start talking about the composition of Negro League baseball in terms of teams. School us on what the teams were and where they were from.
Well, let's take the American League first.
So there was an American League.
Yes, American League and a National League.
So
I'm talking about the highlight. I'm highlighting, if I may, what I've classified as the epitome, the top of Negro League baseball.
Okay.
This is when I don't think anybody anywhere in the country played any better ball than played. The American League was the Birmingham Black Barons, the Chicago American Giants, the Cleveland Buckeyes, the Indianapolis Clowns, Kansas City's Monarchs, and the Memphis Red Sox. Those 6 teams. Now in the National League, there was the Baltimore Eli Giants, the Homestead Grays, the Philadelphia Stars, the New York Black Yankees, the New York Cubans, and the Newark Eagles. Now those were 6 teams in both leagues.
Okay,
and
the Grays. What city was the Grays?
The Grays had moved to Washington, D.C. then.
D.C.
They had left Pittsburgh and moved to Washington.
Thank you.
Wow.
But what I really wanted to factor in is that for All-Star game purposes, the teams out east were the East, and the teams out west were the West. In other words, the New York teams and the Grays, they were the East. And the All-Star game was really bigger than a Black World Series.
Now, when did the teams start to move out west? I mean, because you had like Kansas City.
Well, Kansas City, they were there then, but they were in the American League.
Now, where did this American and National League designation come from? Did that start in the Negro League?
Actually started in the Major Leagues.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's American League and the National League.
Okay, okay.
So those were the
Major Leagues had 8 teams in each league, where the Negro Leagues they only had 6 teams in each league at the output at the top of Negro League baseball.
Okay, so who were the most outstanding teams? Who were the winningest teams of those that you named?
I'd have to say the Grays, the Homestead Grays.
Homestead Grays.
Yeah.
Out of D.C.
Yeah.
Then why were they the best?
I don't know. Well, no, let me take that back. Cumberland Posey had a lot to do with it. Cumberland Posey Sr. was a real dynamite guy. He had a trucking business, not a trucking business, but a traffic business along the boats, riverboat business. He moved freight along the riverboats. In addition to that, he was an engineer. And as an engineer, he developed a system and a engine which was far superior to any other boats for moving freight up and down the rivers, made a lot of money.
Okay.
And then he invested in the coal mines and made a lot of money in the coal mines. But his son, Cumberland Jr., who was went to Duquesne and played baseball there and made a lot of contacts with a lot of different people.
So was it really like?
And when he came back, he had so many contacts around the country. He just sent around, made a lot of contacts and brought different people in, and that's how the Grays began to move up so well.
Now,
hold on for a second. This is R&R on Sports, and we're speaking with baseball historian Reginald Howard.
All of these teams were owned by African Americans?
No.
Okay.
No.
So even Negro League teams were owned by Caucasians or others?
Yeah. The Indianapolis Clowns were owned by Sidney Pollack.
Sidney Pollack.
Sidney Pollack.
Right.
It's just the same name as the Sid Pollack I went to high school with in South Bend, but no relation.
Okay.
The Kansas City Monarchs were owned by Thomas Baird and J.L. Wilkinson.
Okay.
They were brother-in-laws.
Okay.
And that would be about it. Now, there's always been Scuttlebook, which is oral history.
That somebody
in the background, that somebody's in front.
Somebody.
Now, they always said that Abe Saperstein had ownership in the Birmingham Black Bears. I don't know if he did or not, but they always said he did.
Tell them who Abe Saperstein was.
They said the same Abe Saperstein.
Who else he owned?
Harlem Globetrotters. Yep. And the Philadelphia Stars were owned by a fellow named Ed Bolden. And there was always Scuttlebook that the owner of the Philadelphia ball club that's in Oakland now, Oaks.
Oh, okay.
The basketball team. He was the owner, actually, of the Philadelphia Stars. And I don't know if there's any truth in that.
Was there a lot of trading of players from one team to another?
Not really, but even a little further back, the players would jump. They would leave one team and go to another one. In essence, Jimmy Crutchfield, I got to know real well in his latter days. He was telling me that he was with the Indianapolis ABCs, and they went into Pittsburgh to play, the Pittsburgh Crawfords. And he hadn't been paid, say, in 2 pay periods. And one of the players walked up to him and said, "Hey, what they paying you over there?" "Oh, they pay me so and so and so." "Gus will pay you so and so. Gus Green, they pay you a higher figure." He said, "Not only that, Gus will give you a bonus if you jump today."
Wow.
And this is during the Depression. So
talk a little bit about what they got paid.
So when he left, not over $300-400 a month, right in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which back in the 40s,
in the Depression,
wasn't entirely bad money.
It was better money than we got when I came along.
Okay.
Because a lot of things had transpired. They were taking so many players out of the league.
Did teams travel together to play in different cities, or was it kind of you get there when you get there?
You get there when you get there. Now, sometimes you travel together, but usually when you get there, you get there.
What were accommodations like for teams during that time?
Oh, boy. This is the thing that bothers me sometimes when I hear people come in and talk about black baseball. They don't know the hotels and the structure and how we traveled. The Ferguson Hotel in Indianapolis, the Majestic in Cleveland,
beautiful,
Alexander in Birmingham, the Travelers Hotel here in Memphis,
right.
And where you didn't have a restroom in your room, you had to get out and walk down the hall to go to the restroom. You had 5 or 6 rooms was servicing one particular latrine.
Right, one restroom, yeah.
And then let's say we're leaving at 5 o'clock, and the people in the hotel say, "Hey, y'all got to get out of here now. Y'all got to get out of here. We got to get these rooms clean because Fats is coming in here." Fats Domino.
The entertainers.
There was a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Y'all wasn't that high on the
or James Brown. James Brown is coming in here. Y'all got to get out of here.
Right. Was there entertainment?
And we all stayed in the same hotels.
Oh, wow.
Was there entertainment at the games like that? Like, did Fats come and play?
Not necessarily. They're on another deal.
So it wasn't entertainment during the 7th inning stretch?
No.
3, 2.
Now, you said the Homestead Grays were top tier team. Was there like a World Series that you guys had? So they were a strong team. What were some of the other great teams in terms of wins and
Well, I like to factor in the 42 Kansas City Monarchs team because of the strong pitching pitching staff: Booker McDaniel, Chet Brewer, and the 2 Hall of Famers, Hilton Smith and Satchel Paige. Jim Lamar, left-handed pitcher. They beat the Grays 4 consecutive games in the World Series that year.
Okay.
But
So they swept them?
Pardon?
They swept them?
Yeah, they swept them. And the same scenario played out in '45 when they played the Grays were swept by the Cleveland Buckeyes. They had the Jefferson brothers, George and Willie Jefferson, Eugene Bremer, and the other right-hander, Frank Carswell. Curveball and Frank Carswell, they scored. They beat them in 4 consecutive games that year. But let me go back to that '42 Classic, because if you do some background work on me, you're going to think I'm telling you a story. Because during the '42 series, there was one other game played. So I don't want to sound ambiguous, but this game was played and the Grays won. But the Grays won because they pitched Leon Day. But Leon Day had pitched all year long with the Newark Eagles. Had showed up to pitch in the World Series against the Monarchs. So the league forfeited that game. So it should be like 4 games. So if you do any background work, you're on fire.
So normally the Negro League World Series was it in the fall?
In the fall of the year, yeah. But the thing about it, the World Series wasn't as popular as the All-Star game, and the reason for it is it was, again, Negro League ball was played on weekends, so it was stretched out. In addition to that, during that period of time, Satchel Paige and Dizzy Dean would have a group of All-Stars, white All-Stars against the black All-Stars. And they would go out west and they would draw like Hades. They go they go to Denver and Colorado Springs and Albuquerque, when they don't see Major League Baseball. And they made more money than they made in the World Series. And the same thing with Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball players, they wanted to go on the barnstorming tour. Tommy Henrik and Joe DiMaggio playing against Buck Leonard and Josh Gibson. That type of situation.
Wow. We will be back with more R&R on Sports right after this.
Strawberry shining bright. Strawberry champagne on us. Lucky for you, that's what I like. That's what I like. Lucky for you, that's what I like. That's what I like. Sex by the fire. You're
R&R on Sports with iConversation.
The executive director of the NBA Players Association, Ms. Michelle Roberts.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
He is currently managing director and chairman of USA Basketball, Mr. Jerry Colangelo, with us here on R&R on Sports.
Thank you guys. Nice to be with you.
The one, the only, Detlef Shrimp.
Hey, Howard and Larry, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be on the show.
Ken Griffey Jr., how are you today, sir?
I'm good. How about you guys?
Catch iConversation on R&R on Sports, part of the Katsukian Network.
Rolling down the street with my radio on, listen to Funky Politics.
The mayor of the city of Memphis, Mayor Jim Strickland. How are you, sir?
Fantastic. We keep it real, we keep it right, and we keep it funky.
Funky Politics, part of the Katsukian Network.
Hey, this is Dr. J.
Hi, this is Rika Ketchy.
This is John Hollinger, Vice President of Basketball Operations for the Memphis Grizzlies. Tim Brown, NFL Hall of Fame inductee. You are listening to R&R on Sports.
Rolling down the street with my radio on, listen to Funky Politics.
The mayor of the city of Memphis, Mayor Jim Strickland. How are you, sir?
Fantastic. We keep it real, we keep it right, and we keep it funky.
Funky Politics, part of the Katsukian Network.
And we are back, and it is time, as every week this time, to say goodbye.
Bye, y'all.
And as part of our wave to you as we disappear into the sunset.
Howdy 5,000.
Larry, who you got?
Well, I'm gonna shout out Kevin Durant. Number one, everybody knows he played at Oklahoma City for the first time against as the visiting team, and with all the animus and the cupcake banter and everything else, he still found time to donate almost $60,000 to a homeless children's school. while he was in Oklahoma City.
Stand up.
And he's consistently been a very strong proponent of helping Oklahoma to get over everything from tornadoes and everything else, and he's been a very active part of that community. And that's what disappoints me about Oklahoma City, that they would still treat him with such disrespect, being that he was such a great active part of that
on the
community.
heels of that, given that, I'd like to issue a bit of a challenge to professional athletes, successful professional athletes, wealthy professional athletes out here.
That's players unconscious.
That's right, because it's clear to us by now, if nothing else, that the new government and the new
world order,
people filling the new world order. Yeah, these people filling these new positions have no affinity for people, particularly people of color, and in urban communities. The government is not going to be our answer. That's not going to be our way out. You are a part of that, athlete. So be looking in communities where you came from for opportunities to help, opportunities to assist, financially, physically, everything.
Let your courage be bigger than your fear.
Absolutely, absolutely. And with that, we are going to get out of here for another week.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and
share.
All right.
Y'all have a great week.
We out.
R&R on Sports is recorded live at LPI Studios in the heart of Memphis, Tennessee. Web designer Daniel Coates, executive producer Larry Robinson, written by Howard Robertson, and produced by Reggie Fine. R&R on Sports, part of the Kutsukian Network.